History. Boudica, legendary warrior queen of the Celtic Iceni tribe, is noted in history for decimating a number of Roman settlements while leading an uprising of Celtic tribes against the might of the Roman army occupying England in the 1st century AD. Although historical records from this period are limited, mainly relying on the reports of Roman historians Tacitus and Cassius Dio, the story of Boudica's uprising is generally accepted to have gone something like this. Boudica's husband, King Prasutagus of Iceni, had long been an ally to the Romans and maintained a sovereign rule over his people during the Roman conquest of Britain. Upon his death, he is said to have named Boudica and their 2 daughters as joint heirs, in the hopes of maintaining the rights and nobility of his family line. With little regard for their old friends, the Romans swiftly moved to annex the Iceni territory, and it can be said with certainty that the Romans' brutality in the matter was unwavering. Boudica was publicly flogged. The outrage spurred by the Romans' disrespect and brutishness towards the Iceni led Boudica and her people to organize a rebellion with the assistance of neighboring tribes, particularly the Trinovantes. Boudica gathered a huge force, estimated at 70,000 or more, and marched to the Roman colony of Camulodunum. The Romans, unprepared for such a vast assault, were caught off guard and found no mercy at the hands of the rebellion. The city of Camulodunum was besieged and destroyed, and the rebel army proceeded next to the city of Londinium, destroying everything of value to the Romans in their wake. Verulamium was the 3rd and final city crushed during Boudica's uprising, burned to the ground and its Roman citizens massacred. In all, Boudica's army is said to have killed over 80,000 Romans and pro-Roman Britons. Meeting at an unknown site in the English Midlands in 61 AD, the Roman army and its collected legions finally faced the rebellious tribal force head-on. Unfortunately for Boudica, the Romans' extensive training and tactics would be the undoing of the uprising. Women and children, accompanying the rebel supply wagons, are said to have come to observe the battle and provide support. The presence of these observers on the field, however, would leave the rebels with little room to maneuver. The uprising was crushed, and some 70,000 to 80,000 rebels were killed in the ensuing battle and its aftermath. It is believed, although no means of confirmation exists, that Boudica died by her own hand sometime shortly after the battle, the most common theory being that she consumed poison to avoid capture. Judgment of history. While difficult to judge a legendary figure such as Boudica, we can say for certain that the uprising she led against the Romans was rooted in a just cause, striking back at the occupation and the insufferable brutality the Romans inflicted upon the Celtic people. Although the rebels under Boudica's leadership slaughtered Roman soldiers and citizens alike, history does not judge her actions as unscrupulous, having also seen the ways of the unmerciful Romans. While there are few details of Boudica's life before the rebellion, her legacy as a noble warrior who died to defend the freedoms of her people will live on in history for ages to come. Special units and structures. Traditionally, Ayakeli was a social gathering first associated with the early people of Ireland and Scotland. Held frequently throughout the year, Ceilidhs were often accompanied by music and dance, and provided an important social diversion from the labours of everyday life. Ceilidhs were held in halls when available, but were also known to have taken place in private homes, schools, and local businesses. Pictish warrior. The Picts were a late Iron Age people residing in what is now eastern and northern Scotland, one of the many Celtic tribes of the British Isles. Their warriors were feared not only amongst other Celtic peoples but even by the vaunted Roman legionaries. The Greek historian Dionysius would write during the reign of Caesar Augustus that their manner of fighting, being in large measure that of wild beasts and frenzied, brought considerable success against unwieldy military formations operating in the forests and hills of northern Europe. Adding to their frightful reputation was the use of the carnix, a bronze trumpet sounded incessantly during battle, both to incite the Picts and intimidate opponents. Finally, firmly in the minds of their opponents were the reports of the severed heads Pictish warriors would carry. Carrying the heads of defeated foes into combat was believed by the Picts to imbue the bearer with courage and perhaps divine wrath.